There's insanity in the control room.
I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Tuesday. We've got stories, interesting stuff that's happening, fun times. So good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Here you are. You're here. And it's good to see you. Thank you all for joining me as we go around the nation for some of the best stories of political commentary across the internet. I keep hearing that I'm underrated. I don't know. I'd like to somehow be rated, like not overrated. Nobody wants to be overrated. Nobody wants to be underrated. I just want to be rated, like kind of in the middle. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. We're going to do some fun stuff. We've got a Parler. Parler users not happy about this. Yeah, satisfactorily rated. There we go. Thank you, Ravaging Wolverine. That's what I want. We've got Republicans that are mad that it turns out their own voters hate dark money. And they're having a real big problem selling their hatred of H.R. 1. We've got Fox News having a little bit of a Fox fight. It's fun times. And then we're going to talk about Amazon's Twitter army. Amazon's Twitter army. So good. Yes, I have fixed AutoMod. I have allowed certain things, for example,
wet ass P word,
as well as
I will eat your ass.
And of course, our favorite,
Mike Pounds.
So I've got that fixed. Don't worry on the Twitch side. Also, I added a mod over here on our YouTube side here. Everybody, please welcome to the new as a new mod, Sarge Tech. You deserve it. Not only that, Mithril, I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences, of course, to you and your family. I'm so sorry. That's awful. Again, my deepest heartfelt condolences to you and your family. Nonetheless, we are going to dive into this. So let's get started with Parler. Good old narc book, right? Is that what that is now, apparently? Or deep state book, something like that? Yeah, let's do it. The social network known as Parler or Parler was recently flooded with a bunch of angry comments from its users after it came out that the so-called free speech platform was actually collaborating with the FBI. Now, this has happened in the weeks leading up to the Capitol riot on January 6th. Now, hundreds of users responded to a post published by the official Parler account on Thursday that called for an investigation into big tech collusion that it alleged took place just as Parler began to pose a credible threat to Facebook and Twitter. So okay, they're saying, oh man, I can't believe Facebook and Twitter would collude to stop and silence Parler. We are the free speech platform. Also, by the way, we also collaborated with the FBI. But, you know, big tech collusion, terrible stuff going on here, okay? They admitted in the article. But like, of course we told the FBI. Now, the post linked to an article by the Wall Street Journal detailing how Parler made more than 50 referrals to the FBI ahead of the violent siege, which is, of course, what they're supposed to do. Now, I don't have a problem with this. Of course, they should be able to do. They should be doing that. But the thing is that Parler users were not happy about this. Not happy at all. Now, one user wrote, to confirm, you are calling for an investigation into big tech collusion while you are colluding with the FBI against your own platform members? How dare you? You know, to be fair, some of their members, they did crime. They planned on doing crime, and they did crime. And turns out it's not exactly free speech if you do crime. If you try to, do conspiracy and all of that. And look, let me get into where the law is on this issue. In Brandenburg versus Ohio, seditious speech, including speech that constitutes an incitement to violence, is protected by the First Amendment. So, I mean, technically, some of the stuff that people said on Parler isn't exactly against the law, but at the same time, it worried some people who were heading up Parler and decided to refer them to the FBI, maybe to keep a watch on them. Okay. Now, of course, there is a caveat to this as well. Brandenburg also said that it is protected by the First Amendment, so long as it does not indicate an imminent threat. Now, lots of people making these posts about invading the Capitol on January 6th. I mean, weeks leading up to the Capitol riot. I mean, that could be, considered to be an imminent threat, possibly. I'm just saying. Now, as I said, there was a lot of speech on Parler that was incitement, and again, it seemed very imminent to me. Because it was talking about, again, the invading the Capitol on January 6th. And then you have a lot of people now that have been arrested and charged with seditious acts as a result. And what's funny is that they talked about this openly, brazenly. And then not only that, but during the Capitol siege, a lot of them posted to Parler what they were doing. So filming themselves and bragging about doing crime, and even after the fact. And they're still mad at Parler going, oh my God, how can Parler sell us out to the FBI? Oh my God. And so there's more. Another user wrote, this is not an example of a free speech platform. Parler is a fraud. I guess when a company says they're a free speech platform, I would not expect them to turn folks over to the corrupt FBI. Another person commented. Okay, the corrupt FBI. All right. So now look, notice how now conservatives hate law enforcement. And not only do they hate the FBI, they also hate the cops. I mean, they beat a cop to death during the January 6th Capitol riot, even though cops are more likely to be one of them, or they're more likely to be cops. So it's kind of funny. Now, what happened to the thin blue line there, guys? What happened to Blue Lives Matter? Oh, of course, you only want to use that when black people are, killed by police. Of course. And as far as the FBI is concerned, I'm not in favor of the new love that liberals have for the FBI. The FBI has had a very long history of crushing leftist movements. So I'm not their biggest fan. But hey, to be fair, at least the FBI stops at sedition. Okay, they that's where they draw the line. All right. One person says, "How is this supposed to make us want to stay on Parler when you violated people's right to free speech?" Again, Brandenburg, it is kind of murky, the line here on what is considered free speech. Again, you can make seditious statements as long as they're not imminent, but who's to say what is imminent, right? So interesting. A third Parler user said, "So you're saying you ratted on a bunch of us?" This did not go the way that they planned. One person asked how they delete their account. Another said, "Dropping Parler as soon as President Trump starts his new platform. Y'all are done in my book." Oh yeah, Donald Trump's in his new social media project. Great, fantastic. That's gonna be great. Should be interesting. Now, details of the FBI referrals were included in a letter submitted to the House Oversight and Reform Committee on Thursday, the Wall Street Journal reported. The committee launched an investigation into Parler in the wake of the Capitol disruption. So what Parler is doing is trying to defend itself because they want to stay in business. And so according to the Journal, Parler started informing the FBI about suspicious user content, suggesting potential unrest at the Capitol in December. One post from December 24th called for 150,000 people to react to the congressional events of January 6th. Nice. The legal team representing Parler, Michael Dry and Ephraim Wernick, wrote in the letter the examples were only a fraction of the dozens of posts sent to the FBI. So Parler gets hold of this information and says, "Well, that's it. We're going to send it. We're going to send it to the FBI because this is pretty seditious, and we don't want to get in trouble for it." No. Especially since all this stuff was happening, since Trump supporters were making some pretty bad statements. Again, I don't blame Parler for doing that. Any company would. And they actually should do that. Now, the legal team also wrote this. Far from being the far-right instigator, that big tech has portrayed Parler to be, the facts conclusively demonstrate that Parler has been a responsible and law-abiding company focused on ensuring that only free and lawful speech exists on its platform. All right, so before I get further into this, by the way, I just want to thank Jordan Ewell for the TYT raid. Thank you very much. Raiders, welcome. We are talking about Parler and how there's some pissed off conservatives not happy about Parler selling them out to the FBI. So welcome, Raiders. Please follow. Give us a follow. And again, thank you very much, Jordan. Much appreciations. All right. So now Parler, they continue with that statement. They said Parler has always recognized that there are legal limits to free speech. Free speech. It also shows you how quickly conservatives will basically throw each other under the bus. That's what this shows. Okay. And they also show that the conservatives don't understand what the limits of free speech actually are. All right. They don't know. And so it's pretty funny. And again, Parler's throwing people under the bus so they don't get shut down because they're a business. They want to make money. That's what a corporation does. It's all about making cash. And so they want to be the new Twitter for conservatives. I got no issues with that. But they're going to throw their own members under the bus, which is, again, the entire reason why a lot of these conservatives went over to Parler. So they can, do hate speech, so they can exist in their own ideological bubble, so they can, say the N-word. That's pretty much what it is. Oh, they desperately want to say the N-word. But then it is funny because then people who go to Parler actually get bored because there's no leftists there. And they spend their time essentially dunking on or trying to dunk on leftists and then getting dunked on themselves, which is hilarious. So anyway, what's funny about this as well is that they're trying to now say big tech bad. Now that's something that you hear from the right a lot now. You're hearing it on Fox News. You're hearing it again in these social media companies. You're hearing it from Donald Trump. They're all saying big tech bad, when in reality they want to be big tech. They want to have the power, which again is ironic because Facebook is dominated by conservatives. Some of the biggest pages on Facebook are run by conservative companies. All right. Daily Wire. The Daily Wire was like a fact checker. They might still be, they might not be. Was a fact checker for Facebook. Official. Come on. Mark Zuckerberg met with Trump many times during his presidency. They have been, trying to bend over backwards in order to have conservatives stop saying that, oh, Facebook has an anti-conservative bias. They don't. They actually have an anti-leftist bias. But not only that, YouTube, dominated by conservatives. You had, just up until recently, Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder just got suspended off of YouTube. So that's pretty interesting. But then, of course, you got Ben Shapiro. You've got Tim Pool. All of those people together have tens of millions of subs. I think they've got millions of subs. That's for sure. And so they've got, all of this stuff, even though the content literally makes people dumber. And just, again, recently, after years of domination on these platforms, some of the worst people have been deplatformed. Again, Steven Crowder is not, he's been suspended, not for years and years of, saying like heinous things about black people, trans people, blatant racism, homophobia, et cetera, transphobia, phobia. No, he was suspended for election disinformation, just to show you, what they actually believe in. And so some of them have been deplatformed, some of the worst people. Interestingly enough, it does happen to lefties as well. The serfs, for example, the serfs, they've gotten banned several times. Their channel taken down, and then they had to appeal to get it back up. Why? Because it's not like the serfs were doing hateful content. No, all they were doing was covering right-wingers when they say hateful things. And those same right-wing channels still stay up. So it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But again, the main point here is that conservatives, they're going to continue to cry about big tech and censorship when it's very clear that they don't understand what free speech actually means. And they're hilariously turning on their own safe spaces like Parler for not letting them be total and complete pieces of shit. Yeah, Crowder's channel is still up, but he is preventing from uploading new videos for now. So it's not like they completely removed his channel. Yeah, YouTube had no problem with his racism and homophobia. Thank you, by the way, for the hype train. That's awesome. I have got a lot of people to thank once when I get done with this next story. All right. This is important. It's have something to do with voting rights and stuff. Leaders of the Republican Party are pretty upset that efforts to highlight corruption, dark money, and politics are actually pretty popular. Who knew? So now, according to a leaked call between a senior policy advisor to Mitch McConnell, Senate Minority Leader, oh, it sounds good, doesn't it? Senate Minority Leader, as well as members of prominent conservative groups. In this recording of the call obtained by the New Yorker, conservative political operatives were upset that H.R. 1, known as the For the People Act, which expands voting rights, has wide bipartisan support. It turns out, like I said, Americans like it when people are able to vote and vote easier. And not only that, but to challenge some of the corruption in our government. So that's, of course, what Republicans take biggest, the biggest problem with. As much as they don't like voting, I've talked about that constantly on the show, how they don't want more people to vote. That's because they tend to lose when more people get involved in the political process. But now they're after something that looks even worse for them. They particularly took issue with provisions within the bill that would require disclosure of dark money donors. Dark money donors, which they think could harm Republicans in particular. Gee, I wonder why that is. I mean, could it be that Republican voters also hate it that their politicians might be owned by big business and big donors, big corporations, and don't actually serve them. Weird. Kyle McKenzie, research director for the Koch brothers-backed Stand Together. Oh, I love that. Says that the most worrisome part about the wide support for the bill is that conservatives were actually as supportive as the general public when they read the neutral description of the bill, according to the New Yorker's Jen Mayer. Instead, McKenzie recommended Republicans focus on killing the bill within Congress because it's incredibly difficult to sway voters against it. Don't let the voters get this piece of legislation. Why? Because we want to hide our donors from them. Of course. Now, look, one thing I think we can agree with Republican voters, right? So when I go after Republicans, I'm going after mainly the Republicans in power. Congressmen, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz, these odious pieces of shit that are in power, and they're passing things that generally are against not only the material, not only against their own constituents and being able to make the material conditions for their lives better, but also everyone else. And so I go after those people. But the voters themselves, Republican voters got some issues, right? But generally, I tend to think that it's more, okay, you've got a lot of disinformation on the right. You've got a media bubble on the right that caters only to the worst, most extreme, conditions. And they've got the money, they've got the megaphone. And also there are people that are racist. And there are people that have these misconceptions about trans people, gay people, etc. And the good thing here is that there are ways to pull people out of that. I've seen this happen. I've seen people that were able to change their mind. They used to be conservative. Now they're more progressive. Now they're a little bit more liberal. That's wonderful. That's what we want to do. We want people to change. One of the problems that I have right now with the purity out, everybody trying to out pure each other on the left here, is that there's no room for the people who want to escape the right wing to come to the left, to become a leftist, to embrace more socialistic ideals, or at least more soc dem ideals, because these people get, oh, you said this 7 years ago, you are now canceled. No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. If you've changed your beliefs and you're a better person for it, or you want to become a better person, we should welcome you into the left. But anyway, so now, again, one thing that we do have in common is actually some policy proposals. And also the fact that we don't like it when big corporations and wealthy donors buy off our politicians. And I've went over some of the polls before. I actually did so yesterday. Wealth taxes are actually more popular among Republicans than you would think. 53% of Republican voters support a wealth tax. This is like an Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders kind of piece of legislation. That's great. That's a slight majority. Polls going back 10 years or more show that Americans have always thought that big corporations and wealthy donors have too much influence in politics. And it's true. You go back to that Princeton study where essentially the United States is an oligarchy where you have a very small amount of people at the top at their needs, because they're incredibly wealthy, their needs are considered way before the needs of the constituents. The only time that regular people are represented is when their material interests align with that of the wealthy, and you don't see that happen. Generally, it's more on social issues. But when it comes to economic issues, the country is deeply conservative because right now conservative ideology is all about cutting taxes for the rich and cutting regulations on corporations. And so it turns out that you have conservative voters that are like, no, I'm not in favor of that. I'm not in favor of this corruption. I'm not in favor of this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, they get easily redirected into blaming government, blaming liberals, blaming Hollywood, et cetera, et cetera. And so, interestingly enough, the newest iteration of this is now expressed against social media companies, big tech, right? And they think, oh, these tech companies, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, they are too political. No, they're not. But understand that does show that conservatives have issues with corporate influence in politics, although for, of course, different reasons. A lot of them think the companies are too liberal now with their values. And it's kind of hilarious because corporations have no ideology whatsoever. They're essentially profit-making machines. These companies, they're going to do whatever it takes to make a profit. And now it turns out that being more socially liberal is a way for them to make more money, because it turns out we've actually won the culture wars. Yeah, I know. Look, conservatives keep fighting this culture war every day, but we've actually won. We've already won. And what we see, of course, is now conservatives doing a counterculture. Oh, that, you know, they're going after cancel culture, for example, because it's a real counterculture move. Oh, I can't believe we're being canceled by the liberals. What about Dr. Seuss? You know, Lil Nas X with the Satan sneakers and all this ridiculous stuff. That's what they talk about. They don't give a damn about. And by the way, you tune to Fox News. It's essentially what they're always talking about. WAP and all that stuff. What is it?
Wet ass P word.
Ben Shapiro. It's all he talks about is basically these social issues, because they don't have anything to fall back on. And it's the thing, of course, that really riles people up, because they are in the losing side of this. So we've won the culture wars, but corporations, just because they're quote unquote woke, doesn't actually mean that they're progressive. No, these companies at the same time of being socially liberal are actually, you know, they give money, massive donations to Republican congressmen, because guess what? They want less regulations and less taxes. So what they're doing is that they play both sides to their own benefit. Want more customers? They'd be more accepting of gay and trans people. But they also want those, you know, those sweet handouts, these government goodies. And so, you know, that's why they give to Republicans, who love giving them tax cuts and donations. And so I think we need to get rid of all political donations from, you know, corporations, unions, whatever. Just get rid of all the money in politics. We should publicly finance all elections, ensure political candidates have all equal footing and equal time to make their case on publicly on TV and on the internet. I think that would solve quite a bit of problems. But back to H.R. 1. Now, the message, according to the Republican operatives, that the legislation fought back against the influence of billionaire donors was especially hard to campaign against. Not even attaching the phrase cancel culture to the bill by portraying it as silencing conservative voices worked, Meyer wrote. That's awesome. So not even the calls of, oh my God, cancel culture worked at all. That's awesome and hilarious. But they did find something that did work, though, unfortunately. McKinsey did say that if they told voters the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, and Planned Parenthood were against the legislation, they could sway them the Republicans' way. So now that's nothing but lies. The ACLU only opposes part of the legislation, and Planned Parenthood is in full support of it, the New Yorker reported. So basically their plan is just to lie about it. We don't have the truth on our side. We don't really have an argument. So we're just going to lie about it. That's it. That's what we do. After all, they think their voters are idiots. They'll believe in the disinformation, and unfortunately, they do a lot. And of course, the reason they want to lie to their voters is all about money, essentially. Steve Donaldson, a senior policy advisor to McConnell, also noted the minority leader's concern about how the provisions to increase donor transparency in the For the People Act would affect fundraising. When it comes to donor privacy, I can't stress enough how quickly things could get out of hand. Oh, you mean people could actually see who bought you off? Oh, well, we wouldn't want that, would they? Oh, no. Look, these donors want to be anonymous for, I think, a couple of reasons. For one, they don't want to be called out and canceled by the public for supporting odious politicians. They don't want an AOC or a Bernie Sanders tweet calling them out for supporting terrible people like Ted Cruz. Okay? They are legit afraid of the social media power of the left. And that's, of course, another example of how we've won the culture wars. When they are afraid of a tweet from AOC, that's something important. Now, the donors want to desperately hide themselves, and Republican politicians, being the good little servant bitches they are, keep trying to kill the bill that, for the most part, is actually really, really good. It enhances actual democracy, makes it easier for people to vote, and it's driving Republicans crazy because, again, they don't believe in democracy. They want less people voting because their ideas suck. Not only are their ideas deeply unpopular, they're just bad, which is why you never have Republicans actually talk about their real ideas. It's just nebulous phrases like, oh, it's freedom, individual liberty. And that's it. All right. But these ideas, these policy positions don't work for the vast majority of the American people. They work only for the very top. And most people realize that they're being screwed as a result of this by big business, by the rich, by, ironically, big tech, and by the government, who has also been controlled mostly by the rich. As the article correctly points out, influencing politicians through dark money is a tactic favored by groups like the fossil fuel industry, who right now are getting billions and billions of dollars through subsidies. Why are we subsidizing the richest corporations on the planet, who are, by the way, ruining the planet? There's no reason for it. Billionaire Charles Koch and his late brother in particular were instrumental in constructing far-reaching dark money networks across the country. Out of the top 10 dark money groups that have spent the most since 2008, 9 are conservative or right-leaning, according to a list compiled by Open Secrets. And while both parties benefit from dark money groups, which they absolutely do, only Democrats are putting forward H.R. 1. In fact, every Democrat in the House voted in favor of this. Now, of course, now it goes to the Senate, where it's going to run into Republicans and Joe Manchin. Because Joe Manchin's not in favor of this. But Joe Manchin doesn't really count as a Democrat. All right, he ain't nobody's liberal. And so there you go. And what they want to do, what the Republicans and Joe Manchin want to do, is prevent the American people from actually being served by the government, along with Kirsten Sinema, of course. And they just can't figure out, the only problem is they just can't figure out how to get people to hate the bill as much as they do. So it's great. All right. Oh, damn. Level 5 hype train. What is going on here? Twitch, you're amazing. Look at this. All right. I got a lot of people to thank over here on Twitch. Ocelot, okay. Thank you for the 100 biddies. Much appreciated. Goku just saying, thank you for giving out 5. What is it? Nope. 3 community subs. Nope. 5. I'm sorry. 5 tier 1 subs. Holy crap. I'm reading this wrong. Thank you, Tumbles 25 for giving another tier 1 sub. Anybody who's gotten subs from those 2 individuals, please thank them. Much appreciated. Needles, thank you for the follow. Rederiku, thank you for gifting the tier 1 sub. Tumbles 25, thank you for the 200 bits. Northern Ice Dragon, thank you for the 100 biddies. Lynn Ann 15, thank you for the 100 bits as well. Octa Squiddies, thank you for gifting tier 1 sub. Wow. Let's see. There's more here. Linan, again, thank you for the 100 biddies. Regular Mole Rat Dragon, 234 bits. Thank you for that. Again, thank you for that TYT raid. Much appreciated. Wow, you were all very amazing here. And Dobbs Merck, thank you for the 100 bits. Y'all. Too kind. Love it. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Fox News. Mercedes Schlapp, host of the Conservative Political Action Conference, got a little mad, got a little triggered after a Fox News guest called her a grifter. Take a look.
Here's what's troubling. The private sector is driving it, not the government. But Republicans, like everything else they've done during this horrible crisis we've been through, are pushing these conspiracy theories that the government's trying to control you, which is causing some of their followers not to get vaccinated. People like Tucker Carlson, like Jim Jordan, like Mercedes right here, right now, casting doubt on the fact that the government, or trying to convince people that the government is somehow watching you. That is very irresponsible. People need to get vaccinated, and it's the private, hold on, it is the private sector that wants to make sure that people coming into their venues are vaccinated so that their patrons can be safe from COVID-19. It is time for conservatives in this country to acknowledge we have a crisis and start joining the fight to end it and stop spreading lies about what's going on in this country. It is devastating this country, and blood is on the hand of the former guy and others who support him.
You're not going to call Tucker Carlson a conspiracy theorist. That is wrong. This is what the Democrats do. They keep calling us names. We're not going to put up with this. I stand for freedom. I stand for the freedom of the American people every single day.
You're a grifter. This is ridiculous.
Let's not do name calling, guys. Okay, let's keep it civil.
But I'm not going to allow Chris. He does this all the time, to call me, to call Tucker Carlson a liar.
Yeah, we don't do name calling.
Theorists. Okay, we have every right to make this decision for our family,
damaging the effort to get this under control.
We are a country.
All right. I love it. Chris Hahn, everybody. That was pretty good. So now she's unhinged. Mercedes Schlapp. So let's address some things here. So now let me give you context around this entire conversation. So the whole thing is about vaccine passports, right? So conservatives, they're on fire. Like, oh my God, how dare you do a vaccine passport so we can't leave the country. You realize that most countries don't want us there because we've done horrible with COVID-19. I'm not saying Europe's doing pretty bad right now too. But we've actually done worse than pretty much anyone else. Brazil is coming in second, I think, of how bad they have done with COVID as well. And so the idea of a vaccine passport, it's so that, okay, if you're going to travel overseas, then you don't have to do the waiting periods and things like that. It makes things more convenient, and the countries will actually accept you. Makes sense to me. But they're trying to say, though, the people on Fox News, that's the Biden administration. That's the government that is making you get this. That's actually not true. The Biden administration is not actually coming out and saying, yes, we're going to do a vaccine passport. No, it's corporations. It's private companies. They're actually doing this. Some are considering it anyway, because they say that, well, we've got the right to deny service. No shirt, no shoes, no masks. And now in some places, no vaccines. Okay. Hey, Republicans, are you sure about this whole free market thing? Seems to be going against you. Looks like you're having a little bit of trouble with that. I'm just saying. But the Biden administration did say that we will not be issuing a vaccine credential or storing citizens' vaccination information in a database. So right there, that pretty much defeats their entire argument of this is big government. Big government wants to watch you. Big government's strategy. Bitch, you are not that important. All right. Rando people in Oklahoma or wherever, it doesn't matter what state you're in, basically. If you're a regular random person, you think the government's going to expend resources to try to track you, to track your move? You know who actually is tracking you? Corporations. Your phone, right? Facebook. That's who's tracking you, corporations. You don't care about that, though. I mean, maybe you do now because of big tech or whatever you want to call it. But these companies have tracked you for years, and you didn't care. You still think, oh, it's government. It's government. It's ridiculous. All right. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you were saying that this is the government trying to track you, you're a fucking liar. You should be ashamed of yourself. All right. I'm just saying. This isn't, again, the government controlling you. It's corporations. And by the way, corporations are going to make this decision on whether or not they want the vaccine passports or allow people to, go into these venues, for example. They do this because they want to save money. Why? Well, because they don't want to spend money on PPE. They don't want to spend the extra cash and do the extra steps to protect their employees. Right now they have to because liability. Okay. They don't want to get sued if somebody gets sick because they decided not to protect their own employees or their own customers, by the way, as well. And so they don't want to do that. They don't want to deal with people who are sick employees. They want to get back to normal. And the best way to do that right now is to get as many people as you can vaccinated against the virus. This isn't rocket science. This isn't conspiracy. Okay. This is common sense. You want more people vaccinated so that you don't have to do all this extra stuff anymore. All right. These companies, and that saves them money. All right. So the next point here, we're going to talk about Tucker Carlson, my favorite. So Tucker Carlson is a liar and a conspiracy theorist. He admitted it himself, by the way. Tucker Carlson was sued for libel, I believe, and defended himself in court by saying, I essentially make things up. And that nobody should take anything that I've ever said seriously. In an opinion, this is an opinion given by the U.S. District Judge, Mary Kay Visoko. She said, Fox persuasively argues that given Mr. Carlson's reputation, what is that reputation? The reputation of a liar. Any reasonable viewer arrives with an appropriate amount of skepticism about any statement that he makes. Basically, we know he's a liar and a conspiracy theorist. That is his reputation. And so we expect him to say things that are completely false. And therefore, according to the court, he can't actually get in legal trouble when he lies about people or things. Great. Now, the last thing here is that Chris Hahn, again, is absolutely right about Republican messaging. What this is about fear. Oh, the government's coming for me. Oh, the government's tracking me. They're coming for us all. It's not just the government, though. It's the immigrants. It's the Muslims. It's the Chinese. Be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. Buy gold, buy guns, buy our prepper buckets, right? Give me your money. Give money to the politicians as well, so they can cut regulations, so they can cut taxes. Cut taxes on who? Me, not you. Don't worry, though. That will help us fight against the scary government if you give us all your money. In fact, it will also help us fight against the scary communisms. Yeah. And that gets me to, by the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene, our favorite. In fact, here she's going to weigh in on the idea of vaccine passports.
They want you to be required to have something called a COVID passport. And this would mandate your ability to be able to travel, your ability to be able to go to events, your ability to be able to buy and sell. And I asked the question earlier today, is this something like Biden's mark of the beast? Because that is really disturbing and not good. Oh, if you're going to come into the football game or the baseball game or the concert, you need your vaccine passport because we're trying to do a good job to keep everyone safe. This is what the Biden administration is trying to talk to these private companies into doing. Well, let's analyze that. You see, it's still the same thing. It's still fascism or communism, whatever you want to call it, but it's coming from private companies. So I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Corporate communism, everybody. Yeah. Mark of the beast, Biden's mark of the beast, corporate communism, which is totally a thing. Totally a thing, right? It's amazing. But you know, here's the thing, right? So what is actually a real thing is vaccine records. Vaccine records have been requirements for school, military, and even some jobs for over 100 years. Now, I'm sure, we have been under the mark of the beast and corporate communism all that time. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, you must have realized that, right? She must have realized that we're already in corporate communism or whatever the hell that is. This is ridiculous. And the reason that we did that is after the Spanish flu in 1918. Okay, says because we've had these requirements since 1922. That's pretty close to the end of the Spanish flu. From February 1918 to April 1920, H1N1, which originated, by the way, in Ohio, infected about 500 million people, about a third of the world's population at the time, killed tens of millions of people. The count is from anywhere from 17 million to 100 million people died from the Spanish flu. And that whole thing, you know, government got together and kind of decided that it would be a good idea to get everybody vaccinated so that this stuff doesn't happen again. And so that it doesn't spread in schools, doesn't spread basically anywhere and kill tens of millions of people again. Sadly, however, nobody seemed to learn their lesson from this entire thing. And we've got the same types of people who wouldn't have wore a mask then, not wearing a mask now, and not getting vaccinated then, and not getting vaccinated now. And so that's fantastic. Great. Wonderful. Awesome. And the irony of ironies, by the way, is that these same people screech the loudest about getting back to normal. Let's get back to normal. Let's reopen the economy. COVID's over. And by the way, COVID was never a thing. It was never over because it was not a thing. It was a hoax. But now it's over. Now we can get back to business, right? Yeah, we don't need those stinking vaccines. What are you talking about? No, you idiots. You idiots. They want to reopen the economy without getting vaccinated. That's stupid. That's dumb. And remember, that's what they are pushing throughout the entire pandemic is let's just reopen. Let's just open. Who cares about grandma? No, I don't care about grandma. They live their lives. I just want to go and eat an Applebee's and yell at the server. And by the way, I know this is anecdotal, okay, but and not just, I guess it's not necessarily anecdotal, even though I've got anecdotes about it, but I've also seen a survey by people who are servers, people who are actually in the restaurants that are still serving people in the places where they had opened up. Most people stayed home. The people that were left actually ended up being the worst kinds of people. The people who would not tip, the people who were incredibly rude to their servers, who would make them take, or try to get the servers to take off their mask to do like a beauty check or something like that, to see how much that they would tip these people. I mean, just really, really the worst kind of people. They are not sending their best, all right, out to these places. That's who they are. These are the same people, again, who are like, let's throw grandma under the bus and go out because I want to eat at Applebee's again. And by the way, I'm not getting a vaccine and I'm not going to go out and wear a mask or anything like that. Well, then you guys are idiots. You're refusing to put in any of the work or do any of the things that would actually make it possible for the rest of us to be able to actually go out and enjoy our lives. But unfortunately, that's Republicans for you. Ridiculous. All right. One more story here. Let's go to Amazon. We're also not sending their best. Oh boy. Isn't corporate communism kind of a contradiction in terms? Corporations only want people seizing the means of production. They do not. And it is absolutely a contradiction. That's a good point. Marjorie Taylor Greene is really fucking dumb, though. I just letting you know about that. Really fucking dumb. The people who go out during the pandemic are a self-selecting group of the worst Karens. 100%. All right. I've never eaten at Applebee's. Is it good? Yeah, it is actually kind of good. It is. It is good. All right. Anyway, let's get to the story. So this week, Amazon is facing a very, very important union vote in Bessemer, Alabama. It's gotten a lot of public attention. Bernie Sanders has traveled to Alabama to support these workers. And the union fight is coinciding with a fresh round of reports that Amazon warehouse workers and as well as drivers regularly have to pee in bottles and defecate in bags in order to get their work done on time. This was reported, of course, by Ken Klippenstein at The Intercept. Great reporting, by the way. This has all resulted in Amazon turning to fake accounts on Twitter to defend itself in both hilariously bad and transparent ways. Love it. So now, Amazon, if you're not aware, Amazon has a program where employees at fulfillment centers, Amazon warehouses essentially, can sign up to be a Twitter warrior for Bezos. As a result, workers do get a day of paid vacation and a $50 Amazon gift card, according to a report from 2019. So that's kind of sad. Like, we know the reasons these people, I don't blame these people for doing it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you're stuck in that Amazon hellscape and you want a day off and you want a gift card, well, then, yeah, you're going to sign up. Yeah, of course. Of course. But we know why they sign up, and it's not because they love the company. So you can see why a lot of this is pretty half-assed, why it comes out as such low effort. Okay, because I wouldn't want to put in high effort trolling either, or whatever. So now Gizmodo wrote about this back in 2019, and some of the extremely unfortunate comments that Amazon's Twitter army was spreading. One of them was an example of Hannah back in August of 2019. Hannah wrote, "I suffer from depression too, and at one point I wanted to quit Amazon. But I realized it was my fault for the problems I was dealing with and not Amazon's." Whoa, okay. She also said, "I am allowed to talk to people, but sometimes I don't want to. Now I have some great coworkers to pass the nights with. But my depression, totally my fault, not Amazon." Okay, but well, does Amazon give you health care? Mental health care, so you can, or like, so you can actually go and get mental health care? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's one of the benefits. It's even worse than that they have to say things like, and this is how you know it's inauthentic. No, no, I'm allowed to talk to people. Well, of course, one of the reports is that you're really not. There are reports all the way back from 2016, I believe, where journalists, they went undercover in some of these fulfillment centers, right? This was in the UK. And this person wrote about his account and how it was not only, incredibly fast backbreaking labor, there's also incredibly strict time requirements, and it hasn't gotten any better. All right. In these fulfillment centers, it's not that you can't talk to people, it's you don't have time. You just don't have time. You don't have time to talk. You don't have time to use a bathroom. That's why people are peeing in bottles. You really don't have time to take a break. You get a 5-minute break. It takes 5 minutes to walk across the Amazon warehouse at some point. Okay. And by the way, if you don't make any rate, then, well, you get trouble. You get in trouble. You could get fired. Okay. Now, Hannah's Twitter account, by the way, Hannah, it got deactivated sometime in 2019, but other accounts have popped up with the same kind of thing, and they're defending Amazon today. In fact, they are fake accounts, though. They're not real people. I don't know if you're really surprised at that, based on the reporting that we've had and the fact that they've already been exposed as using fake people to try to hype up Amazon. Nothing that they're saying is actually like legitimate, and it doesn't even they don't even sound like real people, right? But we're gonna look at an account anyway and see some of the signs, right? So now one account belongs to someone named Darla. So you can see that account, right? And by the way, it joined March 2021. 24 followers. How? All right. And by the way, totally real people put at Amazon FC in their Twitter name. Totally legitimate, folks. They're the realest people. I'm convinced. Now, Darla happens to look real close to somebody who's using a fake photo created by a website called Generated Photos. In fact, take a look. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty close. It's not exact. Here's a little different. In fact, I got a side-by-side here. You can take a look. I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but glasses, different hair, smile, but the same profile, same background, same essentially face structure. In fact, so-called Darla, you can see here, joined Twitter this month, as I pointed out, to tell us all about how wonderful Amazon was as a company and how unions specifically are not needed because the employees are treated so well. Amazon is not anti-union. Unions are valuable tools of companies that provide good pay and benefits like Amazon does. We simply don't need them here. Darla tweeted. The description, of course, for Darla, or facial type, appears to utilize joyful, white, young adult female with medium brown hair and brown eyes. By the way, the hair is obviously the same in color, but it's in a different style. I don't know if you noticed that. So take a look, right? So slightly different style on the hair. Okay. It's a little bit different. Zoom in on the hair below the ear. That's how the photo was discovered as fake. So yeah, literally website generated pictures. Okay. There's another tweet here. It's always more tweets. Amazon is not union busting. I cannot stress that enough. Amazon is just trying to prevent employees from fraternizing or organizing outside of company approved channels. But that is the definition of union busting. What? But no, they want us to believe that she's a totally real person, talks like a regular person. Hey, fellow humans, how do you do? And again, the fact that what she said is literal union busting is this, it's the icing in the shit cake. That's what that is. There's more. There's nothing wrong with unions. Okay. Oh, good. They work for a lot of places. But at Amazon, I am compensated fairly, given agency and benefits, and treated with respect. And a lot of people here who want unions are, let's just say, not team players. LOL. Because, humans, that's how they talk. Real people. The LOL sells it, obviously. Definitely a real person. And look, I'm not saying okay. So I'm sure the person that's literally typing out the tweets is a real person that's getting compensated with a day off and a $50 gift card. Okay, go you, right? Do your thing, right? But they ain't Darla. In fact, this very account just got suspended today. So now even better is Amazon's reaction to this. Amazon has distanced themselves from this account. They've reportedly told the New York Times reporter that Darla isn't an official account operated by an Amazon employee, because of course. Okay, well then who is? Who would cape for Amazon that hard? Not any regular people. I mean, come on, we're not stupid. Seriously. All right. Now, The Intercept has a new story out here from Ken Clemency. He's just he's just going after Amazon. It's fantastic. Apparently, a security engineer filed an internal warning believing Amazon's PR Twitter account may have been hacked. So you've seen the tweets pushing back against certain politicians, right? For example, pushing back against Bernie Sanders, Mark Pocan, whereas you don't actually believe in that pee story, do you? I mean, people peeing in bottles. If that happened, nobody would work here. Those tweets, people inside of Amazon were like, did we just get hacked? What is going on? Let me read from the report. After Amazon's public relations account sent a number of tweets taunting public officials, staffers were so concerned about the unnecessarily antagonistic tone that a security engineer filed a suspicious activity report, believing that the company's social media account had been hacked, according to internal company documents obtained by The Intercept. One tweet responding to Pocan, again, was that you don't really believe in the peeing in bottles things, do you? But of course, yes, we do, because there's literal documented evidence of that. And it comes from Amazon itself. Amazon employees were like, yeah, we have to pee in bottles. And Amazon leadership, management is like, please don't pee in bottles, and also please don't poop in bags. We're like, we keep having that happen. Stop. So, yeah. Now, the report, first mentioned by Recode, Klippenstein writes, was filed on Friday, according to 2 Amazon employees that spoke on the condition of anonymity to avoid professional reprisal, but was promptly closed out. An internal Amazon correspondence log provided to The Intercept said the tweets were not a technical issue. I got details from Redacted that this is an ongoing PR issue and does not require any technical support. PR leadership are aware of it. So what happened? What actually happened here? Well, according to Recode, the suspicious tweets, in fact, came at the behest of Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, who was recently conveyed disappointment to Amazon officials that the company was not pushing back against criticisms that he considered misleading, which, of course, were not. I'm starting to wonder, what if Darla was Jeff Bezos all along? You pull the mask off, it's Bezos. You don't know. I mean, he's probably got a lot of time since, he doesn't really have to work, especially on his warehouse floors. Hey, I'm just asking questions, right? It's so sad, though. This company can afford a union. They can afford to pay their workers good wages, living wages, more than just, $15 an hour. They should be able to pay, for good health care, benefits, and look, if everything's already as good as Amazon says it is, then why push against a union? Then why not welcome the union? Hey, everything's great. It's not like you're gonna, it's not like everything's anything's bad. So hey, go ahead. Well, unionize. Great, wonderful. It just makes you wonder why they're spending so much time and effort and literally, getting people to tweet these ridiculous things and get owned, on social media and get these investigations and all that. Why they're spending so much time to crush the unions? Well, it's because, of course, they're deathly afraid because they don't have good working conditions. I mean, nobody believes these accounts. These tweets are not real people. All right. And I don't blame the workers, again, who sign up to tweet this stuff. You do what you can. But if you want vacation time, if you want better pay, if you want healthcare, better healthcare, the best way to do it is you should support your comrades and Bessemer in the union push. And I know that, of course, that takes a huge, huge risk. People that, even whisper about unions get reprisals, get attacked. But if you have solidarity with your fellow workers, that's the way that you can actually win. Amazon needs a union. And if Amazon unionizes, that's going to be a game changer. All right. I am severely out of time. I got a meeting that's supposed to happen like 2 minutes ago. So I got to go. Thank you all for the raid. Thank you so much. We're going to raid into the serfs. So I know they're based. Lance is based. Does a lot of great content. So he's on right now. And so we'll do that. We'll raid into the serfs. And to everybody else, please like and share. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us. Thanks so much for that hype train. Y'all are amazing. We do shows every Friday. Not Friday. Well, usually every Friday, as well as Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, right here. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all that wonderful stuff. So thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all later.
There's some whores in this house. Wet ass P-word.
Who's got a hammer?
I will eat your ass.
tighten my meat tight. Tighten up my meat.
Masturbate all day long.
There's insanity in the control room.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.